Support for First Coast Connect is provided in part by Baptist Health and North Florida TPO.
Opinions expressed on the First Coast Connect Week in Review are those of our panelists and do not reflect the views of WJCT News 89.9.
Good morning. I'm Ann Schindler, and it's Friday, which means it's time for our First Coast Week in Review. Among our topics, a viral video brings more scrutiny to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. The school board's request to hire its own lawyer gets shot down in City Hall. And unapologetic Lenny Curry reemerges on the city's political scene. A Florida grand jury hears evidence in the investigation of Hope, Florida. And a judge determines Congressman Corey Mills' former girlfriend needs law enforcement protection from him. To talk about all that and more, I am joined by Jim Piggott, former City Hall reporter at News4Jax. Good morning, Jim.
It is so good to be here, and this group you have today, great.
Good bunch, a very good bunch. We're also joined by Obi Umunna, attorney and political consultant. Good morning, Obi.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. We're also joined by A.G. Gancarski, reporter at Florida Politics and columnist at Jacksonville Today. Good morning, A.G.
Good morning, Ann. Thanks for having me back.
Hey, it's delightful to have you, and it has been a minute. Before we get rolling, you recently found yourself in some national political crosshairs on social media and included a brief timeout from Florida Politics. What can you tell us about that?
What are you referring to there?
Nobody was talking about it.
Right. I mean, go ahead and set it up.
Well, so we do know that you had made an inquiry of Randy Fine, congressman now, longtime state representative. He's, a controversial figure in his own right, but this followed the assassination of Charlie Kirk. You were asking for some comment related to his position on guns, which has been very much deregulation. And you kind of got some of the really difficult blowback that a lot of people that had anything to say in the days after Charlie Kirk that wasn't 100% laudatory kind of ran into. So that happened.
Right. Okay, yeah. So thanks for recapping. I mean, not everybody might have heard of that. But yeah, I mean, it was something where in the immediate aftermath of Kirk getting shot, before he was, declared deceased, I asked Fine, about his campus carry bill that he carried in the very briefly in the Florida Senate, because he was in the Florida Senate for a couple of months before he went to Congress. He won that Senate seat, and Fine said it's a repulsive question, blah blah blah, and I responded, I'm like, well, still it's a policy question. And then he or his aide de camp puts it on social media. They post it with a "you don't hate the media enough" message on it, and it was interesting because I was targeted for a few days. It took some threats. There was a brief time out of Florida Politics while it all kind of blew over. But, this is the thing I want to say. In the aftermath of the happening, people reached out. People, from the left, from the right, from the center, people who don't agree with anything politically. They reached out with a supportive message for the First Amendment, for the right to ask, an elected official a question, even during a time where things are emotionally whipped up. And, many of them said that, especially when things are emotionally, tense and, whipped up, that's when you ask the questions. I mean, look what happened after Parkland in 2018. If people had been willing to ask tough questions then you might not have seen the legislation that happened. You might not have seen the bipartisan commitment to actually showing that, well, this isn't just another incident in the school. And, me asking Randy Fine the question was not a big deal to me. I've asked a lot of politicians, both sides of the aisle, questions they didn't want to answer. I mean, that's the job. That's why we're here. We ask questions that can be inconvenient, that can be tough. And, everybody's always got a right to say no comment. Usually people don't respond the way Fine did. Usually they don't put it on social media and try to elicit threats and all of that from their followers. With the end game being like a 4-minute segment on Fox News or Newsmax. And it felt like he was using that moment to make that happen. All of that being said, it's water under the bridge now. I was not canceled. The suspension was very short. I'm glad to be back doing the job that, I'm here to do, because I look at it like this. The reporter is not supposed to be the news. And when reporters are the news, it says something potentially very, very troubling about our media landscape. We should not be talking about reporters. We should be talking about policy. We should be talking about issues. We should be talking about things like, gold going up 50% in the last year. We should be talking about things like long-term budget deficits that are going to be affecting, state, federal, and local government. These are the issues that matter to people. So I took a lot of questions on it, BBC, AP, a lot of people that wouldn't have hired me. Their reporters reached out to ask me questions, try to elicit thoughts. I will say this, I gave them all pretty much no comment at the time. This is as much as I've had to say about it publicly. And again, I just want to say, thank you to everybody who reached out, with a word of public or private support. It was very meaningful. And, so again, just thanks.
Well, it's good to have you back, AG. We're glad to have you. And, I've worked with you a long time. I know you to be a fairly equal opportunity offender. So anyway, continuing to stand for that. All right, we're going to start today with yet another controversial arrest that is putting Jacksonville in the national news. It's something that civil rights attorney Ben Crump noted at a press conference following the incident. Let's take a listen.
We are here in Jacksonville, Florida, once again in opposition to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office for what appears to be a pattern and practice of excessive use of force against black motorists for minor traffic violations.
So, Obi, this was an incident that followed a confrontation between a mother picking up her student at IDEA Charter School and an officer after she allegedly parked illegally. Is this a pattern? What's happening here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. I think Ben Crump is going to probably end up building another house because of what he's coming to Jacksonville to do. It seems like, and I watched the video, it seems like, there was this level of you're expecting police officers to kind of de-escalate, and that's not happening here. And I think if you want to say there's a pattern of that, I think that's where the issue is. There isn't a level of the police officer de-escalating or trying to bring down this action, and then they're able to use unnecessary amount of force that they want to use. And I think that is kind of what has been the problem here.
Yeah, and so in this incident, there was obviously a disagreement, and the question that Ben Crump seems to be raising here is not so much necessarily like a fulsome defense of whatever she did,
right?
Because we know that in the conduct or in the whatever, as this video is happening, as this incident was happening, she struck the officer, she bit the officer, but really whether there is an obligation, Jim, for an officer to not turn a very small traffic violation or be a part of it turning into something much, much bigger.
I have to tell you, in watching that video and the body cam video of that, I was amazed at what I was seeing. That whole confrontation, it just blew out of proportion. And I think an important thing in all of this, and one other part, is the Florida Halo law with the two other bystanders that were arrested watching that and taking video of that.
Remind us what the Halo law is and what happened here. And for people who are watching our live stream, we should say we are showing some of that body cam video right now.
Okay. Well, the Halo law, and please correct me if I'm wrong on this because, I've been out of the picture a little bit, but it allows in the state that if there if an officer gives a warning and tells bystanders, I'm doing something here, you got to stand back 25 feet and do not interfere. And if you don't, it's a misdemeanor. You could be arrested. And that's what we saw happen with two people. I don't know if I explained that correctly, but that just floored me. The Halo law I watched on this, I just go from being in news and with cameras before, I'm going, what are you talking about? You're telling people that they can't be up close doing their job if they're not interfering, if they're not, that just got me. And it also made me think about when we've covered news here in Jacksonville where the police keep the media back miles away or a block away from an event, and they won't let you up close to look. I mean, that's common practice. We'll go out to the scene of a crime, and police are there, they're investigating. They block you off. So with the Halo law, I mean, now with this, and they're making it a crime to do that, to sometimes do our job, and that's going to be fought. I know that Ben Crump and others are raising concern about that.
So you did a pretty good job of explaining the HALO law, and this has just been in effect, AG, since January 1, basically allowing this 25-foot buffer. It can be punished by 60 days in jail and a $500 fine. It's basically a second-degree misdemeanor. Officers say that this is, and HALO stands for honoring and listening to our officers, but it's something that officers say is necessary to protect them, but also sort of to protect their sense of the space and whether, they're able to do what they need to do without feeling in jeopardy.
Yeah, I mean, and this will obviously be an early test of that law, and it will be something that likely will be appealed if it goes against the officers. Would be something that could get to the Supreme Court in Florida, which of course is Republican leaning. Of course, we support that law. I mean, I look at that law in the context of so many that have been passed over the last couple of decades to support the police one way or the other. Every legislative session, there's one or two that try to leverage, the landscape toward law enforcement and away from citizens who may be documenting an adversarial point of view, adversarial perspective. And this is much like the previous case that brought Ben Crump to town in the sense that, there is some ambiguity in terms of, what the police officers should have done in that situation.
Yeah.
But it's a tie goes to the runner situation. For the Republican power structure in the state, they're going to stand by the officers no matter what they do, including in this case.
Obi.
I think the HALO law is an interesting thing, and I think it will probably have more discussion on this. But one of the things that I thought was interesting is that one of the ladies got arrested 3 days later after the incident, right? She came, they told her to come and make a statement, and then she was arrested there for the HALO law. So it seems to me it is, depending, the Supreme Court can do a couple of things when they look at it. They can say that law is intact, but the application of the law was wrong in this particular case. And so there can be a little bit of a division there. I think it'll be interesting to see if they allow this, because it seems to me that you're basically letting people kind of squash any kind of First Amendment rights, right, and do it later after the fact, not even on the site. So
I think you got to think of that group that's here in town. The Photography is Not a Crime.
Right.
They are constantly pressing this, and a lot of people go, they don't know what they're talking about. But I think this is right to the point of what that organization is all about.
TK Waters gave a presser Friday afternoon last week. Let's just take a listen to what he had to say about the incident.
JSO will not tolerate those who violate the law and victimize our officers or any member of our communities. These jobs are tough enough without all of that. So we reject the flawed theory promoted by some that this type of unprovoked violence is shown to police officers is somehow justified. I ask every member of this community who enjoys the privileges of a civil society, one organized by laws, to reject this flawed theory. No one is above the law. No one should be hurt or hinder a public servant doing the work that is a critical function to our community.
So in the context of showing the body cam video and the cell phone video, the sheriff also showed this photo that we're showing, which is of a bite mark on the officer's forearm. And it's pretty severe. I mean, has broken the skin, bruising already, and it looks, pretty ugly. So there are people who will say, well, that, reaction was egregious. The question that critics of this are going to say is whether the officer perhaps didn't have an option of ticketing her, towing her car, booting her car, as opposed to taking her into custody. And what flexibility is there, Obi?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I was kind of alluding to before. I think as this incident was happening, the officer had an opportunity to de-escalate and make this a different type of interaction. No excuse for how this person reacted to him, but I will say it is interesting that this is a different level of resistance than the former case, and but we're getting the same exact type of reaction. That those are both the same type of reaction from the JSO. And I think if you look at this resistance and you look at the resistance of the former case that brought Ben Crump here, those are not the same resistance, and so they should not have been met with the same level of resistance. And so you can't say that one is okay and then this one isn't, or this is it and this the other one isn't. If you're having different levels of resistance, officers should be able to have some kind of deference into what's happening.
All right. I'm going to move on now to a topic, AG, you've been covering pretty closely. But if you're just joining us, we're talking to AG Gancarski, Obi Umunna, and Jim Piggott about the week's headlines, and you can join our conversation. Give us a call at 904-549-2937. You can also email questions or comments to First Coast Connect at WJCT.org, and you can watch our program live stream now on Facebook and the WJCT YouTube channel. So, AG, this was a question of whether the school board, the Duval County School Board, should be allowed to hire its own attorney. I'm curious if you can explain, first of all, why is this kind of theoretically a concern, and then why it might concern some in particular in the instance of this school board.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, I mean, we've got a general counsel system of government that's been in place since 1967. The general counsel, picked by the mayor, confirmed by the council, is the supreme legal authority for the city. That's been pretty much uncontroversial up until now. And the school board, they're seeking a local bill to go to Tallahassee that would change the charter to allow them to have their own version of an independent counsel. The city council actually rejected that on Tuesday. They voted it down, which is a little bit surprising, but doesn't mean the bill is dead, because there's a Duval delegation meeting next week, and what will happen there is the legislators could take that on. I mean, Charlotte Joyce, the chair of the school board, she'll be speaking at the delegation meeting, and she could tell them, hey, we want you to consider this anyway. So what the city council did doesn't necessarily kill the bill. However, what I think is going to happen is you heard city council people after the vote on Tuesday saying they wanted to give the school board a little more latitude, a little more leeway in terms of having internal representation. Somebody who was a specialist in educational law. We'll see what happens with that. Regarding this school board's push to have a lawyer, it's very interesting because it's the most right-wing school board we've had in the city in decades. Typically speaking, the school board is a little bit to the left of the city council. Not in this case. I mean, it's very much a Moms for Liberty type school board. If they had their independent counsel, there were a lot of things they could have done that were novel in terms of legal interpretations that would have played well, in conservative media, like, go on to a friendly cable news hit or whatever. But, it might have been questionable, for the governance of the school board. Another issue that comes into play is the school district's different than what it used to be. We give a lot of our money now to charter schools. Public schools are a dying concept. Every year, there's fewer and fewer students in traditional public schools. We give charter parity. So, it kind of raises the question of what the school board is actually in charge of if, people are voting with their feet for these private operators. So the timing of the ask was interesting in that framework. I think the city council did the right thing in rejecting the call for it because, the school board, their case is, well, we're popularly elected, therefore we have parity with the city council. That was not a persuasive argument for city council. But, you look at it this way. I mean, you talk about something like JEA, JTA, the Port Authority. Why wouldn't they have their own independent councils? Sure, they're not elected, but they deal with big budgets, big decisions, and so on. So, if you have a parallel general counsel, then you don't really have a single office of general counsel at all in the same way.
I just want to read a comment on Facebook on our previous topic from Linnell, who said recently met a veteran who was arrested under the HALO law, spent 40 days in jail because he could not afford bail, and then represented himself before the judge and won. Sadly, he lost his job while in jail, which could have caused another person to take a plea and end up with a permanent mark on his record. Obi, on the issue of general counsel, AG said if other authorities wanted this same, posture, obviously it is something that would really be difficult for a consolidated government to endure because you would have all of these differing legal opinions. But when it comes to this school board, what kind of things might they be interested in, do you think, in terms of having their own legal counsel?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what their motivation is here. I think a Obviously, if you look at consolidation, part of what they were trying to do here is what part of the reason why it's set up that way is because they didn't want all of the independent groups and school board suing the city, right? I think it allows you to be able, having your own attorney allows you to be able to sue the city, raise up lawyer fees. I think the lawyers are the only people that would win out of this particular situation, but really allows for lawsuits to go back and forth. And when they were doing consolidation, that was one of the reasons why they did that. It prevented all these lawsuits between JAA and the Port Authority and all of this stuff. It kind of halted all that. The biggest reason for them to want to have their own council is the ability to able to sue the city council or sue the city for something that they disagree with. I mean, we look at maybe going back in time in the half-cent tax kind of debate where, there was the general counsel made I would say an interesting kind of thought process here on what the word shall mean, but that could have been a reason for them to sue the city at that point. So it allows them to have the ability to basically sue the city on their own, and who knows what is coming up for them to do that. But I think that is kind of the biggest motivation for that.
School boards have gotten increasingly political, Jim, and this one, is also a very different makeup than a few years ago in terms of the political affiliations of the membership. Is there concern that they might be introducing legislation that has more to do with a political ideology?
Well, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that, and we have been seeing a lot of it. I think we're going to be seeing that with censorship, with books that they're doing. That's just an example. But when I was looking at what was happening with this and why they were doing this, I was looking way back. The school board, you got to think of desegregation, everything back in that time. They didn't have their own independent council, and that was some of the biggest issues for Jacksonville at the time. And I'm going, so why? And I think people have to ask that question.
Why now?
Why now? Why do we need to do this? There's no point to that. I can say that now that I'm not reporting that. I think people have to speak out and say, what's the reason? And some are speaking out, but I just think a lot of people say, well, I don't care about that. Why do I care that the school board would have their own general counsel? How does that affect me? And I think that's the main thing. But I think, AG, you brought out a lot of that. You brought out a lot of that, of what's happening, of how this does affect people. And I think people have to be aware of that. And I think you got to look way back to when they didn't do this, when the biggest thing for school boards was desegregation.
I mean, city council is asking to do something similar as well, right? They're asking to have their own council as well. And I think, I'll be honest, I think it has a lot to do with who the mayor is right now and what party she's with. And I think that makes them a little bit uncomfortable about what's going on, but they didn't have a problem with that in, previous years as well. So,
well, they've said they think that this general counsel, they gave him a vote of no confidence, Fackler, and they said that they think that he's, aligned with the mayor, AG.
Yeah, but they also confirmed him pretty much unanimously. If there was a no vote, I can't remember it. And let's be real about this. The reason Fackler got the job in the first place because Randy DeFore couldn't get the votes. Right. Randy DeFore, a Republican councilwoman that they served with, was too spicy for them, was too independent, was too willing to assert her views because she was conservative on a lot of issues, Confederate monuments and all the rest. Randy DeFore is no liberal. So they voted her down, and they're like, well, he's Hank Cox's son-in-law. How bad can he be? We're all in the same gang here. It's the Good Old Boys Network, and the Good Old Boys Network was what, jumped up and bit them. And, if they'd confirmed Randy DeFore, I think they might have been happier with the long-term result.
Interesting. We've got a call from Linda in Mandarin. Good morning, Linda. Go ahead.
Good morning. One of the things that when entity brings this up, so they want to have this as an option to sue. Currently, I fund them through my tax dollars through consolidated government. If they sue the city and the city has to file a response to that brief, am I, as a taxpayer, expected to pay both sides of that lawsuit? If so, the school board needs to get a grip. Unless they have their own independent funding, which they may have from some billionaire somewhere, they need to work in the confines of the government, or they need to get another job.
Thanks,
because
Linda.
I'm not interested in paying that for them to fight the city.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly comes at a time when there's a lot of other budget pressures
The
on
lawyers
the school board.
always win, right?
Yeah.
How
The
do you know
lawyers-
that?
yeah.
Speaking as an attorney. All right. If you'd like to join us on air and have a comment about the week's news, you can reach us at 904-549-2937. You can also email firstcoastconnect@wjct.org. I want to turn now to a former mayor keen on making headlines. Lenny Curry back in the spotlight. He was on this program this week. Sort of been extremely online in the former Twitterverse. He's been on News4Jax, Action News, wrote an editorial for the Times-Union. So I asked him on Monday's program what his plans were. This is what he had to say.
And not anytime soon. I'm working hard right now. You know, I've got 2 kids in college and 1 in high school, and got a lot of responsibilities. Happy to be involved behind the scenes, helping good people get elected to state, local, and federal offices. And I would say stay tuned. But if I ever do end up on a ballot again, probably going to win.
Jim Piggott, your thoughts? What's Curry going? What's he going for here?
I have not a clue. I think he's looking more not local. I think he's looking more probably congressional down the line. But what do I know on that? I mean, will he run for mayor again? Who knows? He can, but just listening to him, I'm just going, I wish he'd tell us what his plans are, because, you know, either people are for or against. I don't know, but it's really interesting watching what
He
he's doing.
certainly seems to want to be in the news, AG. Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, this is nothing completely new. I mean, John Delaney has, been very vocal, since he left the mayor's office 2003. So, they pick and choose what they want to do. Obviously, Peyton and Alvin Brown didn't have a lot to say after they left, although Peyton has resurfaced in recent years. But, that being said, I mean, I looked at that interview as Lenny Curry looking to do a slightly adversarial interview. I mean, it's easy enough for these Republicans to go on friendly outlets, and get questions that are complete softballs. He took some tough questions from you and kind of put you through the paces a little bit in terms of the way he responded to them. I think if he's to run for anything down the road, it might be for Congress. I mean, it could be the John Rutherford seat when and if John Rutherford ever leaves, that could set up a very interesting primary, because you could see somebody like Rory Diamond getting in that too, and those two going at each other.
Would be interesting.
Yeah, but I don't see Lenny Curry looking to go back to City Hall, and I don't see him running for state senator or whatever. I mean, he's got a good gig with Ballard, all of that, but I think federal office or something like that would be probably a fit for him at this point in his political evolution.
What about governor?
Well, I think Byron Donald's got that on lock, and really, if you really want to go inside baseball here, I mean, Katie Wiles, Susie Wiles, they support,
Katie Wiles has kind of worked for Lenny Curry. Her mother, Susie Wiles, obviously the chief administrative officer or chief.
Right.
Yeah.
Chief.
Susie, when she,
I'm sorry, missing her title with
Susie
with the
didn't
Trump
work.
administration, but
Yeah,
Chief of staff.
chief of staff. Sorry, yeah.
Most powerful woman in the world.
Right.
But yeah, so basically, I think Byron's kind of got this area on lock. I don't see.
Well, he's got the Trump endorsement. So,
I mean, but Jay Collins, the lieutenant governor, he may run. Casey DeSantis, her name has been floated. That doesn't seem to be going very far. She's been floated for Jacksonville mayor too. So we'll see where they end
I
up.
want to talk about Casey DeSantis in terms of Hope, Florida, but Obi, I just want to get your sense first of all with what's going on with Curry.
Yeah, I mean, I listened to the interview and I thought you did a good job of kind of asking them questions. I was surprised at how little he wanted to take credit for JEA, since he was a part of that whole situation from the beginning. He fired all the board members. He picked his own CEO, and the CEO was obviously working with him the whole time. So I was surprised that he wasn't willing to take any kind of wasn't willing to take any accountability for the JEA situation. But we'll see what he does. I doubt he would run for mayor again. I don't think he left mayor, as he says, the cocktail sippers did not like him as he left. And I don't think that's a place for him to go. I think he's going to look higher. I just don't see him doing that. So,
yeah. Well, people who want to hear the full interview, they can, of course, find it on the WJCT Public Media YouTube channel. And if they want to hear more on that, JEA exchange. They can hear it there. Email from Michael saying kudos to Lenny Curry for taking down the rebel statue in the now renamed James Weldon Johnson Park in front of City Hall. On to Hope, Florida, though. I do want to get to that. So a grand jury this week hearing testimony in the investigation of the charity that's tied to the governor's wife, Casey DeSantis. She had an idea that perhaps some of the investigation and the pressure that she's been getting at Hope, Florida is related to the foundation's connection with nonprofit charities, particularly religious charities. Let's take a listen to what she had to say.
We are the only state that is taking a holistic approach to how you legitimately help people. We're the only state that incorporates the faith-based community, which you should ask yourselves, is that why I'm getting a lot of heat right now? Because I think, why would you not? That's the mission of the church, is to help the vulnerable people. They just need to know where to look.
AG, is that why she's getting a lot of heat right now?
No, it's not why she's getting a lot of heat, it turns out. It turns out what actually happened was $10 million of money in a Medicare settlement with Centene was laundered to political action committees that are basically helmed by the former chief of staff, now current attorney general for the state of Florida. That is why there's heat, because why was $10 million that was part of a settlement used for political purposes? And the explanation from the governor has been unconvincing. The attorney general saying they've called it the cherry on top and things like that, but it's not a gratuity when you're going to a restaurant. This is $10 million. And if it was actionable enough to actually go after Centene and actually get the money from them, then why not put that into healthcare? Why not put that into something that actually benefits people? So basically, it is a question about, was there money laundering? Was there money laundering for political purposes? This idea that it's because faith-based community. I mean, the faith-based community is not immune from rampant frauds. I mean, we grew up watching televangelists, Jim Baker, Jimmy Swaggart, those people. I have sinned. Okay. It's like, then give back your money. And it's like, nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
And so I reject that argument. I think Casey DeSantis can only use that argument because she only talks to friendly interviewers. She only talks to people who are going to echo what she says. And, and the fact that she's still pushing that at this late date, assumes that either she's delusional or her target audience is delusional.
Obi, this grand jury probe that's happening, I mean, obviously there was some investigation that happened at the legislative level, and, the lawmaker that led that investigation said that he thought this was a criminal enterprise, the fact that this money that came from a Medicaid contractor ended up in some dark money groups fighting the marijuana amendment.
Yeah, I mean, to also add to AG's point, I've never seen a legal settlement where they give you an extra $10 million to do whatever you want with it. So, but I think the fact that it's gotten to the grand jury portion of it makes it a little bit more serious, a little bit more formal. The grand jury will look at the evidence and then make a ruling. And so I think we're in a place now where whatever they were saying in public and all of that stuff really doesn't matter as much because it is now in the hands of a grand jury and they'll make a decision. And I think that's the best way to either settle this or move on from this as well. So
I think I'm like many people that don't quite understand what's going on with this. Like, where's this money coming from? Where did it go? Who did what? Who had authority over it? What could a grand jury, do you think, could come back with? What were the possibilities on this?
Well, they could say a couple of different things. One of the things they can say is that there's definitely intent and fraud here, right? That they've seen enough evidence that there's some intent and some fraud here, or there's some statements that were incongruent with what was initially said to be done. And so they can then recommend to the state attorney to file some charges on whoever they think is the entity.
Could it be Casey?
It could be Casey. It could be some of the people that work for Hope, Florida. I mean, it kind of depends on how that will
play. It could be Casey because it comes down to the foundation.
Right.
Yeah, yes.
But Uthmeyer was also over those groups, and he was serving as chief of staff at the time, the current attorney general.
I think it'll be interesting to see who is the person that's going to ultimately be responsible for what the money transfer, right? And certain people have stepped up, and some people will say, I think ultimately, politically, it's going to hurt Casey regardless, but I don't know if legally it will.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there. AG Gancarski, Obi Umunna, Jim Piggott, thank you all so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
It was great.
Thank you.
All right. And we'll be back in just a minute. Welcome back. Well, change is afoot here at WJCT Public Media, and not because of the recent financial headlines surrounding public broadcasting. Here to tell us more, I am joined by our president and CEO, David McGowan. Good morning, David.
Ann.
Nice to have you here. So, what's up?
Well, I announced on Tuesday, Ann, that I'm going to be retiring at the end of March of 2026. So I guess that's the news.
That's the news. And so you've been here 8 years. You are yourself the product of an international search. March is your departure. And people are going to want to know, does this have something to do with the rescission and kind of all of the money issues
Sure.
that have been happening?
Sure. No, it really does not. This is something that I have planned for quite some time. I had been talking with the leadership of our board of trustees way back in January about this. And then when the news about the federal funding kind of started to emerge into the world, we decided let's just not do anything for the moment because we had a lot of work to do to get to a plan of stability for this coming year, and I didn't want anything to distract from that. So
you
we got
actually delayed a little bit your...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, but
well, it was a well-kept secret. I mean, I would say that there were people in this building that knew about it, and then the rest of us who didn't
well, not
have a
many
clue.
people in the building knew about it, to be sure. So, no, it was something that, kept close to the vest, if you will. But I think the time is good. There are so many ways in which this organization is thriving, so many ways in which we are really impacting the community in ways that I think are new and different and exciting, and we have the support of the community to do those. If you look at the impact that our work in early childhood education is having in early learning centers across the region, if you look at the audiences for this radio station, I think we said internally, we had a little bit of an announcement internally this week that we've become the #1 news talk radio station in the Jacksonville area. That's exciting news. This program is reaching more listeners than it's ever reached before. You look at the work of Jacksonville Today, reaching more than 50,000 daily subscribers. Our film series attracting great audiences, hundreds every time we do it. So you look at all the different things that are in process, and so it seemed like it's really kind of a good time to say, okay, it's time for a great next leader of WJCT Public Media to come in and steer.
Sure. And the people in this building and outside this building will say, you really presided over a period of great expansion in terms of mission, digital presence, innovation, also creating, a remarkable sort of diversity of financial assets,
Revenue streams.
Revenue streams that really have given us a lot of stability despite this kind of crazy patch.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really important. We have really benefited from having a really diversified revenue pie. We talk about this a lot. Certainly, we talk about it with the board. And, of course, the loss of federal and state funding at the same time is two significant revenue streams going away really, really suddenly. But thanks to the work that we have done and to the support that the community has offered us, not only in this recent period, but over the years, we have been able to weather that. We are continuing to be able to weather it. It's not by any stretch over our work to continue to build resilience and be here. But I'm really proud of the fact that we are a vital and dynamic organization. Our goal, we talk about it internally and all the time, right? Our goal has always been to be the most dynamic local media organization working in the public interest in the country. And I think if you look around and you look at other organizations across the country, I think we may not be quite there, but we are really, I think, proud of the work that we've done, and we're proud of the way the community has been engaged in the work that we're doing, and that's got to continue now. That really has to continue to grow, and to that there's no stepping back from that.
So who might replace you? I don't mean specifically, but I mean, as we said, you were the product of, you were living in London when you were recruited for this job. Yeah. Your background was partially media, but you had, financial background. You had kind of a range of experiences. What are they looking for? What are you looking for in a replacement?
Well, I think, this is such a great job. First of all, I want to say, I mean, this is a terrific job. It's an interesting job. It's an opportunity to work in a wide variety of industries and sectors, and it requires a lot of different kinds of experience, but no one can possibly have all of the experience in all of the industries that we work in. So I think it really is a matter of finding someone who is interested in embracing the challenge, someone who has experience in some of those. Obviously, our commitment to local news and public affairs is incredibly important, but so is our work to early childhood education. So is our work in the arts. There's so many different sectors. It's impossible to have someone with deep experience in every single one, but we need a great person, obviously.
Yeah, and so has the search begun?
The search has begun. We've appointed a search firm. DRI Waterstone is the name of the search firm. And yeah, it's underway, and I'm excited about that. I'm excited about what the future of this organization and what the next leader can bring.
And your departure in March, is there a kind of a game plan for when they're hoping to have somebody in place?
Well, the hope is that we can turn over the reins to someone at that point, but we'll just have to see how it goes. The standard is high, and as I said, we're looking for a great person. So we'll just have to see how the next months unfold. But I'm not going anywhere soon, right? I mean, this is
yeah, you've got a lot of work to do still.
Yeah, a lot of work to do. So yeah, it's not goodbye. We'll have plenty of chances for that.
Sure. Well, I will say, I mean, for the station and for me personally, you will be missed. You're a great boss, and obviously have done great things with this organization. So it's not great news for us, but we're happy for you. So.
Well, I think it's hard when you announce you're leaving and the next person is unknown, right? It creates that big unknown. I think once we have a next leader in place, everyone's going to forget about me really quick.
Oh, all right. Well then, we'll have it forgotten. David McGowan, good to talk to you. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, a dance performance takes the stage for the first time as part of St. John's Cathedral's art offerings.
Congaree & Pen, dedicated to agriculture and culinary endeavors, offering field-to-fork dining and outdoor experiences on over 300 acres. Sip, dine, explore. Information at congareeandpen.com. Terrell Hogan Law.
I'm Wayne Hogan. Car accidents happen too often for your family to go unprotected. Uninsured motorist insurance. When you need it, will you have it?
More at terrellhoganlaw.com.
On the next Florida Roundup, a charter school company wants to open in dozens of public school buildings across the state. A new state law allows charter schools to move into traditional school buildings rent-free under certain circumstances. So what do you think about charter schools moving into traditional public school campuses? How is school choice helping or hurting your neighborhood school? Email us radio@thefloridaroundup.org. I'm Tom Hudson. Then join us Friday noon until 1.
The White House asked Congress to pull back federal funding for public media that had already been approved, and Congress has gone along. We want you to know that NPR and this station remain committed to informing the public, increasing your understanding of the world, and hopefully enriching your life in other ways. But without federal funding, we're relying on your support now more than ever. Please make your gift to this station today. Here's how, and thank you.
Visit WJCT.org/sustain and thank you. More than 2 weeks into the government shutdown, a federal judge hits pause on President Trump's plan to RIF federal employees. On the next Friday News Roundup, the latest attempts to slash government agencies. Plus, ICE agents get aggressive in Chicago when residents push back, and remembering film and feminist icon Diane Keaton. The News Roundup next time on 1A.
Today, starting at 10 on WJCT News 89.9.
Welcome back. A new dance production explores the passage of time as well as the power of memory to comfort, hurt, and inspire. Here to tell us about it is Emily Cargill. She's the artistic director of Emily Cargill and Dancers. Welcome back, Emily.
Thank you so much for having me.
We are also joined by the Reverend Dr. Linda Privierta. No, Linda, tell me.
Privitera.
Privitera. Terrible. Sorry. After all of our conversation this morning, I never got it straight. The Reverend Dr. Linda Privitera with St. John's Cathedral, where the performance is taking place. Good morning. Thank you both again for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're excited.
So Emily, your dance company's upcoming performance is called The Passenger.
That's right.
What is the meaning of the title, and how does that have to kind of tie in with the theme of time?
So I get a lot of my inspiration from personal experience and things that I've gone through in my life. And a big thing that really kind of carries with me throughout all of my artistic experiences is memory and time, like you just said. So I started to think about how what are we as humans, what are we in relationship to time? And we're passengers. We're passengers in time. As much as we want to try to, control it or hang on to things or let go of things or manipulate it in some way, we can't. So that's kind of where the title came from. And I have 2 young daughters, so I get a lot of inspiration from them. And I just, I'm in the phase of their lives where everything is just so precious and beautiful and wonderful, and I want to hold on to it, and I want to live in that moment and be in that forever. And I think, and then other moments I'm like, could this be over now? Could this be over yesterday? And I think as humans, we're always immersed in that experience of really wanting to live in something or relive something. And what do we do to put ourselves in that place, even though we can't? And a lot of it is memory production. And
I mean, it's kind of a struggle, right? There's moments that you want to live in, extend, or relive.
Right.
And then there's moments, as you say, that, you can't get past fast enough. And some that you don't ever want to reflect on again. You don't ever want to think about.
Right. And then even the moments that we think, they're very the shapeful moments of our lives. Maybe through those we kind of uncover the layers upon layers upon layers that actually dig down to even more of the core of who we are, and we've come to find out those moments that felt really hard or felt like we never wanted to live through again are the ones that made us who we are and have shaped the life that we live.
Sure, in good and bad ways. And I think, Linda, that there's certain memories, you think back to the family car trip or something, the parents will want the kids to remember all of the great things that happened, and the kids will always remember the flat tire, the fact that there weren't enough snacks, or kind of the thing about it that maybe is least memorable or at least that you would hope. But a lot of times those memories just stay with us.
We keep thinking about, are we there yet? And so I think that the arts provide a container for, are we there yet, or where are we?
Yeah.
Where are we at this moment in time, and whether we have enough spacious enough container that can hold all of the rich and deep emotions that Emily's talking about, that she's going to embody in her own self and with her dancers.
Why is St. John's Cathedral, why are you so interested in the arts? Why is it such a foundational element of the work that you do?
Well, I think the history of faith traditions, you're likely to see art in stained glass or in drapery or in vestments or in the shape of the building itself. Everything has a layer and a level of meaning. At St. John's Cathedral, we have a number of spaces that are good containers. So Telfair Hall, for example, is a really good venue for performance arts, but also for visual art. And there's just an expansive spirituality there. So there's room for a variety of venues. And we celebrate beauty and imagination and creativity, as well as tradition. So I think that's a rich heritage.
And this is a new enterprise for you. I mean, you handle the art exhibits, performance, but this is the first dance production you put on.
Yeah, we're really excited.
What made you decide? I mean, Emily, I know that this has been kind of a collaborative process, but first of all, what drew you to St. John's and wanting to use that incredible performance space?
Yeah, so I have several visual artist friends in town, and the lovely Amanda Holloway had a visual art exhibition in Linda's space, and I honestly just saw it on her Instagram post, and I immediately reached out. I was like, "Where are you? This is a dream setting. It's like the beautiful castle-like, very intimate and nostalgic, and just promotes all of these like wonderful like visual feelings and images." And she was like, "I have the person you need to contact." And so I reached out to Linda, and I was like, "This is who I am. This is what I do. Here's some images of our work, some video," and we just connected.
Well, it is going to be a great performance. It's next Tuesday and Thursday, the 21st and the 23rd. There's more information at jackscathedral.org. Emily Cargill and the Reverend Dr. Linda Privatera, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Amanda.
All right. And thank you for listening. Please join us Monday when we talk to teachers at UNF and FSCJ about a crackdown on campus speech, from secret surveillance to workplace retaliation. I'm Ann Schindler. You've been listening to First Coast Connect on WJCT News 89.9.
Support for First Coast Connect is provided by Baptist Health and the North Florida TPO.
The North Florida TPO is committed to shaping our transportation future. We're focused on planning, funding, clean fuels, and new technologies for a vibrant, connected community. Learn more at northfloridatpo.com. Baptist Health is a proud supporter of First Coast Connect. Baptist Health, committed to building a healthier community for all of us. More info at 202-4YOU or baptistjacks.com. Amelia Island celebrates the annual Dickens on Center Christmas Market, December 11th through 14th. Experience a Victorian Christmas festival featuring holiday entertainment, festive food and drink, St. Nick and Enchanted Village, holiday shopping, and more. Info at ameliaisland.com/Dickens.